Good afternoon, everyone. How pleased are we to be able to be here today? Amen. Amen. September the 17th meeting at 2:30. I'll now call us to order. Invocation we have at each one of our meetings. You're welcome to join us in our invocation that a commissioner will have. You're welcome to use the time for your own invocation, or you can have a moment of silence, whichever you so choose. And at this time, I call on Commissioner Lisa Barnes to lead us.
Pray with me. Heavenly Father, we come before you with grateful hearts today, thanking you for sparing us from the brunt of this terrible storm and even from the threat of tornadoes this morning. Lord, I thank you for the first responders and all of our public safety and emergency personnel who have been putting themselves in harm's way for our safety. Lord, and I just ask that you would continue to protect them in the days to come and be with the families that have lost loved ones during this storm. Lord, I pray that you would comfort them, Lord, and give them the peace that passes all understanding. God, I ask that you would be with us today and bless this meeting as we strive to do your will for the best of Nash County. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes. She made a right good politician, but she makes a right good pastor as well. The first item on the agenda, number 3, I'm not going to build up too much to go into it. Ms. Rachel Joyner's here for our outside presenter for the month of September. And we're pleased to have her here. Not pleased to have her here for the reason we asked her to come here, but she's here to talk a little bit about her term as the Nash County Clerk. And we did ask her to paraphrase it just a little bit. Been since how many years now, dear?
66, July the
years.
15th.
July the 15th. We're going to turn it over to you. You're welcome to do it right there, or you're welcome to stand right here where you have a microphone. Might be a little bit better.
Okay, I will.
And we are delighted to have you here today.
Well, it's a song about nothing could be finer than to be in Carolina. The only thing finer than that is to be in Nashville, Nash County, North Carolina. I'm a state employee, have been since 1968, but I left my heart in Nash County. I never forgot the place that where I was born, and the people that I love, and the people that have made me what I am today. I was born and raised on a farm at Castile, the youngest of 11 children. They raised 10 of the 11, but I never let poverty bother me. We were lucky people. We had 3 meals a day, and we had wonderful parents that taught us how to live and to treat other people. I've spoken quite a few times in my life, and recently to the clerks conference in Wilmington just before this horrible storm hit. And I tell this one thing if I don't tell any other thing when I speak. What I am today, I would not be if it were not for what my parents taught me and for the life that they lived before me. And I've heard people say other things about their family, but I don't shade anything. I'm not famous for that. I usually get right to it. But I never remember a crossword between my parents. I was 8 years old when my father lost his life at a lumber mill that he owned. He went to school 2 days. He was homeschooled after that because it was too far to walk. And he was one of the smartest persons in the world. He knew everything. He measured land. He harvested timber. He raised timber. He had his own lumber mill. He was a brick mason, carpenter, everything you could think of. I always remember that he thought my mother was beautiful and that he loved her. And I would hear her say, my father's name was Charles Daniel Matthews. I never knew what his name was until he lost his life. All I ever heard was Mr. Sweet Matthews. I understand that my grandmother named him that because he was such a sweet child. So the obituary came out, and I said to my mother, they got Papa's name wrong in the paper. They said, why? I said, it says Charles Daniel Matthews. His name is Sweet Matthews. And she said, so she explained all that to me then. But anyway, he was wonderful. She always taught us that every person is due a measure of respect in this life, regardless of their station in life. And that if you did not respect other people properly, God would put them in your path one day, and that was to teach you two things. If that you do pay for what you do wrong and give you a chance to get it straight. I thought that was pretty straight, and I understood it, and I got it. And my father was so generous, he gave away everything he had during the Depression. And when he lost his life, he had $120 in his pocket. My mother always said he was a very wealthy man at the beginning of the Depression. And I remember as a child, when my head was along about his knees, people would say, Mr. Sweet, I can't pay you back. And he'd say, did I say anything about that? So this is how I was born and raised. And I've been this way all my life. I don't intend to change. I love people. I've never seen anybody I didn't like. I might not like some of their ways, but you do respect another person's opinions. This is my philosophy, if you want them to respect yours. I think that's pretty simple. You know, most anybody can get that. So anyway, I pay respect to my parents if I don't have any other time, because without them, I would not be here today. And their good life, I feel like, has followed me all the days of my life. And I'm one of the most fortunate persons in the world. I came to Nashville looking a job and had nothing at that time except myself. And I had worked on the farm for other people to educate myself. I felt like I had some smarts. I just needed a chance to prove it. And so I showed up at the door at Mr. Sills' office, and he of course knew my father, because Mr. Sills, Jim Nick, who hired me, was from Castalia. His father was from Castalia, and he was clerk. And so I became clerk. So there are 3 clerks of court from Nash County. I just figured up the amount of time we have a few minutes ago, Sandra. And we, 3 people from Castalia, have served in the capacity of the clerk for 114 years. And there was never a scandal in the office. We were not short of money, any of those things. And it had to do with people that that you were working for respected you, and therefore you respected them. So I thank you for allowing me to come here. I will, if somebody will let me know when my time is up, I'll stop. But first of all, after that, I want to say this. I owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to each Board of County Commissioners of Nash County, beginning in July 1952 when I came to Nashville, and to Jim Nick Seals, Clerk of Court, who hired me. These people opened the doors for me, and without them opening those doors, I would not be here today. So Mr. Seals wanted to know how much experience I had, and I said none. I just got through sending myself through a year of business school. Well, I need somebody with experience. I said, well, listen, let me ask you this. How am I going to get that first experience I don't have? I think that sort of shocked him a little bit, and he twisted his cigar a little. He never smoked them. And he said, "When can you come to work?" I said, "When do you want me?" "Tomorrow." I said, "No, I have to find somebody to borrow some money from to buy a car, but I will be here the day after." I was not letting that fish get away. So I went home and got busy about it, and my brother borrowed some money and bought me a used car, and I came to work, and I've been here ever since. I never considered it work. I was where I wanted to be. I wanted to go to college, and there was nobody to send me. And I fell in love with those wonderful law books. And I couldn't bear the thought that those lawyers coming in could pull down books and turn to pages and read law, and I didn't know a thing in the world about how to do that. So I'm precocious, see. I paid attention. I saw them put the book up one day, and I thought, when they leave here, I'm pulling that book down. It was Frank Sproul and Tap Thorpe in there talking. They said, "This is General Statute so-and-so on page so-and-so." My hands were trembling when I pulled that book down. I thought, if I do not turn to this page, something great has gotten away from me. And so I turned there, and there it was, General Statute so-and-so, just like they said. I thought, I've got this thing. And I looked and saw there was an index. I had it. So when I got a chance, I was in the courtroom. I learned everything I could learn. Everything that they would do, I would read the statute behind them. So you can't get much better than going to school on the job, and they paid you too. Now think about that. There's so many people in the world that all they need is a chance. They just need a chance. There are a lot of smart people unemployed. There really are a lot of unemployed, very smart people. So I have seen myself in a lot of people through the years that I have worked here at this job. And I usually hire the person that I think needs the job the most, and they seem to be interested and willing to learn, and therefore I can teach them, and they will do it exactly like I want them to do it. And they make wonderful employees. They just needed a chance for a door to open. So a lot of people open doors for me. After beginning to work, I found out there was something called county manager. And so I asked Mr. Seals one day, why were we the only office had only a week of vacation and all the other offices had 2? He said, "Well, that's just how it's always been." I said, "Can I go talk to the county manager?" Of course, he was from Castile and I was too, you know. And he said, "Well, yes, go on and talk to him, see what he'll say." So I marched myself in to talk to Curtis Ellis. Everybody was afraid to talk to Mr. Ellis because they said he's tight with money, don't want to change anything. And I thought, he hadn't met me yet. So before I left, I convinced him that we should be treated like everybody else. So after that, Mr. Seals just sort of said, why don't you just go to the courtroom by yourself, and if you need me, send for me. Boy, that was what I wanted to hear. I wanted to try this thing myself and see what I could do myself. And so it has been a wonderful life. I've had so many people to help me. If Judge George Fountain had not appointed me to the unexpired term when Judge Neville retired, that was a huge door that needed to be opened. But I've been putting together some things recently that I've been gathering ever since I've been working here, and it's massive. letters that people wrote me, I've forgotten that I had heard from. I found one from Congressman Harold Cooley congratulating me on receiving that appointment. There's so many wonderful memories of people that were willing to invest in me. And it's been a moving experience to think about how many places I have been that I could not have gone had it not been for this wonderful job that I have. I'm not leaving it because I wanted to. I feel I have unfinished business. I will always be doing something that has to do with law and government and politics. My father mentored me in politics and law, and how and why wars are fought. Before I started the school, I knew history, I knew geography, and I understood all about that the Second World War was going to happen. And I used to sit in the nail keg on Saturday afternoons at Castalia while he was talking to the politicians. And they said, we just had a war with Germany. We're not going to have another one. And my father said, you ever read the paper? No. You ever listen to the radio? But wherever we had a battery radio, and twice a day, he would leave the field at noon and at 6 o'clock. He was on one side of that radio when I was on the other. I had not started a school. And he explained all of those things to me. But I had a natural thirst for history. I just didn't know why. I wanted to know everything that had already happened and why it's happening now and what we're going to do about it in the future. I was just sort of impatient. I didn't play a lot like other children. If I did, they wanted to go home because I had rules. You play fair, or you do not play in my yard. I mean, it was something about feeling like you were mistreated. You know, people forget a lot of good things that have happened to them, that people have done and said. They were pleasant, that was nice, and you go on. But there's one thing you never forget. That is somebody has mistreated you or offended you. Now, that's just human nature. There's nothing wrong with it. It's the way we take care of ourselves, I guess. Anyway, I just always wanted things to be right and straight and fair and honest. And I'm still that way today. Just treat everybody right. And I inherited my father's nature in that way. He would suggest to people that they needed to leave the yard because they were not behaving themselves according to what he thought they should. And I saw him one day sort of put a man's lights out, and then he stood him up and brushed him off and said, now that's the way home. If you need me again, call me. And that's the way he was. He never carried a grudge, never. So I'm what I am today because of my parents, because of all the wonderful people of this county and of this state. There's so many things that I could say that there's not time to tell you. There are a lot of things that have happened in my life. I turned down a job with the FBI one time. I'm not sure I made the best judgment call there, but I was 18 years old and was trying to send myself through a year of college, and I needed to come home and take care of my mother, who was a widow at that time, and so that was the choice I made. But I had a first cousin who went on with a high school education that lived a half a mile from me, that went to state for work for the State Department. It was something about all of this government stuff that was in our family for some reason. We were all interested in it. He was stationed in Cairo, South Africa for 25 years incognito. Nobody knew what he was doing except me. He'd come to see me sometime. And we have another cousin who's a general in the Army, at the Pentagon, other people. We were all interested, it seemed like, in government and law, and it's in my heart and my soul. This is all that I know. It's all that I've done all my life. It's what I wanted to do. And I have some options that I'm checking on of what I might do. I have some legislation pending now that I had somebody introduce that has to do with adoptions. I've done a lot of that for the Clerks Association. When I go up there, I say, no, this is going to happen. I went one day and they said, the committee just voted, you're too late. I said, I just got here. So, short story about that. I took Andrew Whitley, a clerk from Wilson that recently retired and is practicing law. That was his first day. I said, let me break you in right, Andrew. I said, just follow me and don't say anything. So we made the circles, and it needed to go to the Senate to see the head of it, and the doors were closed, and he said, why are we standing here? The doors are closed. I said, the door will open eventually, and somebody will come out. When they do, they're going to do what I asked them to do. And so somebody came out, and we got it taken care of. So I like the challenge in that. It's interesting. And I also have been asked to come and teach some at the Institute of Government with classes for new clerks that are coming in. I feel like if I don't use what's in my head, it will explode. I like to share what I know, if it can help somebody else. I love mentoring young lawyers when they come out of school and get them trained right and teach them things that will help them to be successful. So I'm open. I'm not looking for jobs. I want to do something that will be helpful and part-time, to use what I have to offer if I can, and try to give back what was so graciously given to me. I feel loved by the people of Nash County. I feel they have always respected me, but I tried my best to be respectable in the office that I held, and conduct myself in a proper way, and to dress myself in a proper way that you would never be embarrassed. And so success will cost you something. It's not something that will just happen. But if you, I just think if you are honest and fair with people and treat people right, you can disagree, but not be disagreeable. And always remember, if you don't want somebody to change your opinion, don't try to change somebody else's opinion. You can listen. That doesn't mean you have to abandon what your opinion is. But if you want them to listen to you, you owe them the courtesy to listen to them. It takes a little time, but sometimes you save a lot of time when it's all over with. I guess I've talked long enough. You probably don't want to hear any more of this, but I have so many things that I've never talked about myself, Mr. Davis. I didn't think it was necessary. It was just, we were taught to not do that. My mother always said self-praise was a dishonor. Said if you have compliments due, you let somebody do that. So I didn't run around expecting people to. I was just so thankful that I was from Nash County. You go to another county sometime, except Manio. Okay. And you will see that most of the time the governmental bodies do not work as well together. As long as I've been here, I've worked with hundreds of judges from all over the state. And they always say to me, Rachel, you've got the best run court here in the state. People don't fight each other, they work together, they cooperate with each other, and it makes the wheels of justice work well. I know I've said that in board meetings before, but it's worth saying again. And so compliment yourself for a job well done. You can't please everybody all the time, but you can make your best effort. And part friends. That's what Mother said, just always part friends. Okay?
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Lane.
How many employees were in your office in 52, and how many are in your office
When I
now?
came in 52, there were 4,
4. And how about now?
32.
Two.
Yeah.
But I have a satellite court in Rocky Mountain.
That's right.
4.
You do. Since I've become a commissioner, there's 2 areas in Nash County that have multiple pronunciations, and I've never known which one's exactly correct. Of course, the Cooper's area, at least there's one of them, you hear it pronounced many different ways. Your hometown, would you say it one more time?
Castalia.
So we'll know what the official pronunciation of it is, and one more time.
Castalia.
Okay, everybody got that? All right.
I mess up that.
And
That's good all day long.
the values you spoke about, I'm going to attest to. I had a lady move in with me last Wednesday due to the storm. She stayed with me a night or two here and there, but not nearly this long. And of course, you probably know who I'm speaking of, but the values you instilled about being respectful of people and all, having a person move in with you for that period of time, and she's going to be there a little bit longer. And I see many values that you spoke of in this lady, and she worked for you for 30 years, so I'm sure she got a lot of those values from the time spent with you. And I appreciate she may have had them all when she went there, I don't know, but I can't help but think she learned.
Well, I
quite a
helped to
bit.
maintain them.
You helped maintain them. We sure
You
appreciate
want me
it.
to sit down here?
You're welcome to do anything you wish. You
Well,
can
I
stay
mean,
with us, or you,
So
whatever.
is this it?
Yeah.
This is what we asked you to do, and you did a
Okay.
great job of it.
Okay, so this is balance of the business meeting, okay?
Right.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome to stay.
What a
We-
beautiful sight, look around the screen and all these, that's Bobby Joe Fisher. Wait a minute, I'll give you a hug and kiss out there.
Should we adjourn for a moment and go witness this? You want me to show?
Well, just wait, maybe I'll get around to you.
I'll tell Susie you said hello. Did we get something? Yep, we did. Amy, if you want to come on to the front, get us started right back here just a minute.
Hard act to follow.
Oh, yeah. Should have put you first, you know. You'd be all right.
What'd you say?
Should have let you go first, you know. You'd be all right. I think we'll be all right right there. My daughter's mother-in-law is who came with us, and she retired 3 or 4 years ago from working in the clerk's office. After 30 years is what I was speaking of. Our inside presenter this month is Amy Pridgeon Hamlet with the Department of Social Services, and she is our director for how many years now?
6 months, Director.
6 months. How many years does it feel like now, then, I should ask?
22.
22
I was
years.
kidding.
All right.
No. I've been here 22 and a half years, and I hope to only be as happy as she is at 66 years, so, and as healthy as that, for that matter. But I don't quite have the great story she has to tell, so bear with me. when I talked to Stacy about presenting, she just said just to pick a couple of topics. I think we already present a Board of Commissioners report, so I think you pretty much know the clients that we serve, the number of kids we have in foster care. We have 40, well, this is 42, has changed since then. We're guardian for 17 adults, and I think we served 1,025 clients with food and nutrition and with Medicaid. I was going to talk a little bit about is NC Fast, and I think you all have heard a lot about NC Fast, and we continue to hear about NC Fast, but it appears to be the gift that keeps on giving. Only problem is we never know what gift it's going to give us. We never know what to expect from the system, and it continues to cause some problems, just maintaining staff, just being able to meet policy demands, and it's very frustrating. As we also have had the memorandum of agreement that I think you are all aware of that we had to sign with the state, and they provide the information to us. They are currently working on trying to figure out what data they gave us so that we can know what we're doing and understand what we're doing. When we go to our consultants, they don't know that the data is accurate. They can't tell us where they pulled the data, and they are going to assign us a liaison so that we will be able to benefit in the future and know what data we have and whether or not it's accurate, so that we know whether or not we're meeting our measurements. Again, I will say that it is pretty frustrating. It's made it real difficult to keep staff. We have a lot of new staff, and it was implemented in economic services several years ago, but there continue to be workarounds. So if there's an issue, then you have to work around it, and then it creates another issue, so you have to work around that. And it creates all of these job aids that they have to kind of keep up with as well. And now they're going to implement it in child welfare, and that is really a concern for every director in the state of North Carolina because of child safety. Whereas most of the time workers are spending 70% of their time in the field, they will be spending 70% of their time in the office and only 30% in the field to ensure the safety of children. We have had 5 pilot counties. I think it extended after that, and then they totally put the NC Fast on hold with child welfare, and now they're going to push it out in November on paperless counties, and we're a paper county. And we're a paper county, so we go live in November. And so they are starting to have training now, the workers are. And a lot of them are new workers, so they're learning a lot of stuff at one time. And we were very fortunate with this hurricane because that would have created a great deal of just a lot of trouble for us. So we are very blessed in that aspect. But we do have a lot of learning to do with that. We are concerned because it will not only, it starts out with our investigations and our intake unit and child protective services. However, it doesn't carry forward to our foster care or our in-home services. So if there's a finding of abuse or neglect, they will still operate out of paper records. So you may have one family that you're serving that might be in a paper record and online, and the two aren't going to merge at that point. So, and just a lot of the issues with NC Fast, one concern is that it's going to cost the county more money, and that's because NC Fast is not a very organized system. So if an item comes into our agency to food nutrition and you apply for Medicaid, if the food nutrition worker wasn't able to get it in the system until after they submitted their eligibility, then we might have a payback if they come back and check it for Medicaid because it was known to the agency, or if it went into child care, or if it went into work first and that kind of thing. So making sure documents get scanned into the system, but then the policies are very different. And so wherever you log it in NC Fast, there is no consistency to that required by the state. So workers are spending time going through hundreds and hundreds of pages to make sure that they have the information that they need before they make an eligibility determination. And so that's creating a lot of human error. It's creating just a lot of extra work for them as well. And we haven't had a lot of new changes other than NC Fast and our MOUs. And we have somewhat restructured our agency to better meet the needs of citizens, so we have worked a little bit on doing that. And that's the only thing I can think of right now. Anybody have a question?
Question is why with NC Fast that it's gonna require them to spend 70% in the office and 30% in the field?
That's what we're seeing. And so they're pretty much telling the counties to be ready to check in with their staff. How are they going to get it done, kind of thing. So basically, it's taking more staff to do the same job. And I don't know if it'll change once they kind of figure out all the kinks, but we don't know what all the kinks are because they just kind of keep occurring.
In other words, less visiting time, visiting clients.
Right.
And
more stringent policies. That we have a new modified policy that hasn't quite gone into effect yet, but when it goes into effect, it's requiring more contacts, more immediate contacts, more frequently with families for safety as well.
I don't know, it just seemed like to me, it's good to know your clients out there and especially sometimes what is going on.
Right. And we would
Are they-
wholeheartedly agree with
Yeah,
that.
Are they honest clients, you know, and all the need. I don't know, it seems like there's a lot of time in the office. I can see more time in the office, but not that much.
Mr. Lane?
Let everybody know the rollout of NC Fast, what the first program was, what the second, where we are and where it's going.
It started out with Medicaid and then food and nutrition, and I don't remember the order, but it was work first and child care. We rolled out energy a few months ago, well, so it's been a little while ago. But it's just the same issue is like, if you have a problem and they can't figure out with the system, you have to do everything you can through your agency to figure it out. You have your point of contacts. If they can't figure it out, then finally, ultimately, you can submit a help desk ticket. But the problem is the help desk tickets sit out there for months because the state doesn't have people who can answer the help desk tickets. So then, when we have our memorandum of understanding and we have cases that are counted against us, basically, some of those cases are cases that we sent help desk tickets on months ago that we haven't received responses on. So, so that kind of. And then now they're supposed to implement child welfare. But we also had a P12, which was our documentation management that they were going to implement, and they just totally pulled that off the shelf last month. So there were so many errors in it that they totally pulled it off. And so some of the counties that have Northwoods is beneficial for them. And so we're kind of at a loss not having a case management system to be able to help us to find our own data on that kind of thing. So that has been a benefit to some counties. However, they still have to have some way to merge their system into the NC Fast system. So I don't know if there is a good answer other than anything but NC Fast. And I really hate to say that. Nobody is against NC Fast. We just want it to work and work effectively to be able to meet the needs of our clients.
There's no flexibility in implementing NC Fast.
Flexibility?
I'm adjustment to each county. No adjustment.
No, I will say, I think there are some counties that haven't done everything they needed to do in it, and so, but when we have audits, if we're not doing what we need to do, then it's held against us. And then in some situations, I think when you say 100% in some counties with their food and nutrition, well, there's a lot of issues that are beyond our control as an agency. Like if a client doesn't turn something in on time, they get an additional 10 days. So then if they bring it in that 9th day, it still has to be processed. Or they might bring in something else that day, and so it extends on 10 days past the deadline when they were supposed to turn it in. And so that counts against us if the client doesn't bring in their information and bring it in quickly. But they know they can be expedited if they don't bring it in, and so that's what they choose to do. Meaning they can get their, I guess, money quicker if they wait to be late to recertify.
That's why I see closer contact with your clients.
Did you,
But
So
those are,
that probably wouldn't happen.
well,
yeah.
but your food and nutrition workers can't go out and make home visits when they have such a large caseloads, 400 and 500 people. I mean, it's really just not feasible for them to make, they don't make home visits currently.
Mr. Outlaw?
did you say there's a liaison from the state that you work with?
We're supposed to have one assigned to help us
Do-
with the data
Do
management.
you have one?
We don't yet. We don't know who that's gonna
Okay.
be.
How about the company that helped facilitate the implementation of NC Fast?
No, we have some point people that we contact. In fact, we have 2 people who were just assigned to us for child welfare, and they try to help as much as they can, but basically the information is not relayed to them, so they can only help as much as what they know.
I'm going to, I know the individual at the state that had great responsibility in implementing NC Fast from the get-go. And after this meeting, I'll talk to you, and I'll give you a name, and I'm gonna get her to call you. And I think you know who I'm talking about. She has actually been here before and worked with Nash County on some of our issues. But I think she'd be very interested in hearing what you've had to say today.
Right. And I think, NC Fast has had a panel at our directors' meetings, and we have them every month in Raleigh, and they generally bring a panel, and so I think they're very aware. In
Well, I
fact,
don't
they.
know about a panel, but I know about this one person.
Okay.
And I promise you that she will be here, if you want her here, within 30 days or less.
I'm not opposed
And,
to any help to
And
help
I'd like
our
to
staff.
hear, kind of what your thoughts are after she comes in and meets and addresses the issues that you've got.
Okay,
Okay?
sounds good to me, I appreciate
Okay.
it.
Amy, you spoke about paper and paperless counties, and you said that Nash County was still a paper county. Can you tell us how you get to be a paperless one? Are we chosen by the state, or how does that work?
No, you basically have to put a lot of money into a document management system to be able to, have things scanned, make it much easier and organized so that everybody knows, kind of how to get it when they need it.
Do you know
So-
how many of each we currently have in the state, approximately?
How many,
Counties that are paper, paperless in the county, in the state?
I'm not 100%. There are a lot that are. Probably, I know at least 30 to 50 probably.
Is that
Or
something,
have their own document management system, pretty much.
have you looked at that and requested funding to do that with?
No, we have not
We have
requested
not.
funding, no.
Okay.
It's,
Is
it
it
was
something
hundred-
that
we
may
have-
be in our future?
I don't wanna be scared to ask for that. It's something that we're gonna need. We were not gonna do it because of P12, and that was supposed to, but it was causing them to have to do work twice. And so it was no help for us to scan something and then have to scan it again, and so, it may be something we look at in the future. We were kind of waiting to see, because we knew if we asked for money for a case management system, we knew NC Fast was gonna be our system. And so we wanted to see what their suggestions were. And P12 was their document management suggestion, and right now it's on hold. So, but Northwoods, I think, tends to be like the most popular, and it's pretty expensive. But we didn't want to jump out and spend money if it was changing. We were just trying to be
And we
mindful.
appreciate that, just
So,
understand the commissioners don't know anything about it, so.
I understand, and we learn
Uh,
something new every day in every
Don't ever
area.
want you to be scared or any other department head to request things from the
Okay,
commissioners. I don't know that you're gonna always get what you request.
We
but
understand that.
If you can bring a good case, I don't
Right,
know
right, right.
anything we've ever not went forward with, and I apologize.
Right,
Mr.
totally
Lamb, for making
appreciate
this
that.
statement,
we truly do. We
Okay.
do appreciate that.
but- Okay, all right.
So,
Well, we thank you, ma'am.
thank you.
Next item on the agenda is item number 5. Nancy Nixon is Down East Home Consortium. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is an item we had a little bit of discussion about previously, and I guess you're gonna move us to the next step.
I'm gonna suggest it.
Okay.
We've talked about the Down East Home Consortium previously. It's an organization for Nash and Edgecombe County, and the city of Rocky Mount, and some of the towns that are involved in the two counties. We've been a partner since 1995 when it started, as you know, and over the last, the group is governed, if you will, locally. That funding comes from HUD to the consortium, and then the local group is governed by a 3-year consortium agreement, and that agreement is coming up for renewal. Now, you may remember it came up for renewal in June of 2017, and we extended a 1-year agreement, excuse me, rather than a 3-year agreement at that time, in order to be able to correct with the lead agency, being able to work more diligently on some Nash County projects. And so as I had reported previously, that year extension has gone by, and we're a couple of months in past that June 30th, 2018 for that extension, and we haven't had any new projects from Nash County put into the system. And to my knowledge, even now in mid-September, we still haven't had anything worked on or committed into the system to work on this. So that's a part of the operational difficulties that we're having with it, and the benefit to Nash County has just been diminished since we originally started. The program was a lot stronger at its beginning, and in the first decade, I think that we were part of it. And so this is the opportunity for the commissioners to consider whether you want to continue being a part of the Down East Home Consortium. We have not yet received a revised draft with changes in it from the previous agreement, and so we don't have that yet, but we are 2.5 months past the June 30th or the July 1st beginning for that period. So I have submitted for your consideration a resolution, and I have a recommendation that Nash County not continue to participate based on the performance issues and the fact that Nash County citizens are not benefiting from the program anymore like we used to.
Do we have those?
Do you have that?
I don't see it. We do?
No.
Okay.
Stacy's gonna make a copy.
Okay, all right. Anything else, Ms. Nixon?
No, that's all.
Mr. Lamb, did you want to add anything to that?
Ms. Nixon and I have discussed this for about a year or two. There's been a lot of turnover in the lead agency under this program, and we just have real concerns about the worthiness of Nash County remaining part of it, and I support her recommendation.
And as chair, I also definitely support the recommendation. I've been concerned about it for about 3 years, as staff has known. There's been a tremendous amount of turnover in the lead agency, Rocky Mount. As she said, 2.5 months beyond the deadline. It is an example of what we face, and we just don't operate in that manner in Nash County on anything we do. We do it prompt. We do it correctly. There's some things that I'm not gonna get into specific that really concern me about some of the ones that have been done, but I truly support it, and at this time, I'll just ask if any commissioner has any questions, Ms. Nixon or Mr. Lamb, about what we are entertaining doing. Any questions at this time?
Yeah.
Mr. Belfield?
Have we been, in the past 12 months, working to see if this could be improved, if we can continue with it? We just decided we're not getting any results out of the consortium, that we just don't need to be a part of it.
I feel like we have,
You go ahead.
I feel like we have, when we agreed to do the 1-year extension, we agreed to take on some additional responsibilities in order to relieve their staff, their lead agency staff of doing that, and those were related to taking applications and soliciting applications from Nash County citizens, putting those preliminary packages together, sort of checking off the things that were in the application packages to be sure that people were eligible, and we got those lists of things from the city of Rocky Mount as they sent them to us. And before Christmas 2017, we sent about a dozen application packets over to them. Some of them were eliminated for some initial reasons, but we currently have 6 or 7 over there that have been there since before Christmas and have not had significant action taken on those.
All right. What's the consequences of pulling out? We're gonna go on our own with these, with people that are eligible and applicants?
We would, it's a housing repair program similar to our CDBG programs and what the
Yeah,
North
I
Carolina
understand.
Housing Finance
Yeah, I
does.
understand that,
We
but
would continue with those programs. And the resolution indicates that we would continue to work with the consortium staff on funds that were allocated to Nash County while we were participating members. And so those funds that were, would continue, we would expect them to continue to work with us to execute that and to fund those housing repairs in Nash County.
Does that mean that the funds for home repair would go through the consortium?
It,
And if we're not a part of it, we're still eligible?
we would not, there's nothing in the agreement that I noted that would that would cut us off from funds that were allocated for Nash County citizens before the date that we exit. The consortium would continue to exist. Their funding is based on a population matrix at HUD. I would expect that after Nash County exits, that their funding amounts may go down, would go down relative to the population in the consortium.
Other questions?
Ms. Nixon, can you verify to us approximately how many we have had done through this in the last year or 2 years?
The last house that was completed under the program, to my knowledge, was finished in the first part of January of 2017, so that was a little over a year and a half ago. And that was actually funded, I believe it was funded with funds from the 2014 funding cycle. And so that's the last one that we stand. I'm not aware of anything that has been added from Nash County since that time.
Other thoughts? Pleasure of the board. And what I'd be looking for is a motion to approve this resolution as written or any changes to the resolution.
So moved.
Have a motion to approve the resolution as written. I have a second. Is there any discussion on that motion or any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Dixon.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is item 6, which is a public hearing on a contract with Cloudwise high-speed internet project, which is the project that we have worked on for a little over 2 years to try to find a solution to begin the process of providing a usable internet system throughout those parts of the county that are either not served or underserved. For the benefit of the public here, the commissioners took this as a very serious goal, I'm gonna say 2 years ago, maybe longer than that. What we have found is it is a extremely complex subject. We have chased numerous routes on this to run into dead ends. We have had proposals that we thought would work, that would get changed before we could implement the programs. We are a county that has some hills, a lot of flat land, but a tremendous amount of trees, which makes it more difficult if you're not using either fiber optic throughout the county, which is completely out of the budget of basically any county in the rural part, or copper wire throughout the county, which is one way we almost decided to go in, and then we had to cost more than doubled on us at the last minute. So I don't want anyone to think that we haven't worked very hard on this, because we have. And what we're here for today is with a contract and to conduct a public hearing to move forward in phases, and primarily in phases because it is something new to us, something new to North Carolina. We'll be looking at a wireless system. We did, several of us attend another class with our association back in Hickory about 3 weeks ago. And I was pleased to say in listening in that class and the other counties throughout North Carolina asked the questions, to know that we were well ahead of most counties in trying to resolve this problem. We are not anywhere near having resolved the problem, but there are a lot of them just beginning to look where we were 2 years ago, and a lot of them haven't begun to look at all. We know it is a dire need. We first got on it because of our educational needs and the fact that we were going more internet-based in education, and the kids, when they go home, need to be able to do homework so they wouldn't have to go sit in a parking lot near a bus or near a school, et cetera. But over the last 18 months, we also realized that maybe possibly even a more pressing need is the fact that we've got so many home-based employees in Nash County now, and they just can't do the work from home without a internet service that is reliable, that meets certain criteria, particularly in speeds. And the growth that we're receiving in the county, which is pretty significant, is coming from the west, and a lot of those people are looking a place in Nash County because we're a lot more affordable, but they are home-based employees or either a home-based business. And so that's why and how we got to where we are today. And Patsy, I'll turn it over to you to give us a brief explanation, and then we'll have the public hearing.
Can I say one
Yes,
thing?
sir.
We started off, it's been about good 5 years ago, we started off working through the County Commissioners Association.
We did.
And they ran into, well, the companies out here, you know, they lobbied too, General Assembly, and it slowed us down.
They did slow us down, Mr. Belfield, as you said, through the association. We were able to get local legislation that allowed Nash County to move forward,
Yeah.
but some counties still can't move forward on, and that is through a partnership. We can't do it on our own, but we can form a partnership with a private entity, which is what we'd be doing and what we're speaking about here today. Ms. McGee?
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be able to be here with you today. Before we get started, I do want to say that Cloudwise, the company for which we're going to recommend an agreement subject to the public hearing, would very much like to be here today, but they are located in Leland, North Carolina, which is right outside of Wilmington. And I did receive an email this morning. We've been in contact. I know they're quite busy, and they don't have electricity, and our roads are flooded between here and Wilmington. And so, although he said it made him sick, he was just not able to be here today. And that said, he wanted us to know that the network he operates down there is back online. His core operations remained online with phone services, cloud, and other services. And they do regret that they could not be here today. They have been wonderful partners to this point. Since April of 2014, we've been working with the North Carolina Department of Information Technology, the Broadband Infrastructure Office, on this strategic initiative.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't thank Jason Simple for help us getting started. He's no longer with them. But also George Collier, Jim Corin, Angie Bailey, and Keith Conover with that agency. As has been stated, there's so many economic development, educational, and quality of life reasons that Nash County citizens want and need high-speed internet service. And in response to that demand, we've worked for several years to reach this point of entering into the first phase of a public-private partnership to deploy what's called the last mile of high-speed internet technology to unserved and underserved areas of the county. A few interested citizens, staff, and commissioners have served on the Nash County High-Speed Internet Implementation Team, and I certainly want to recognize Hattie Cooper and Cephas Ray, who are the community champions that have been working with us, as well as Carl Holland and Jane Tyson. And also want to especially thank the Assistant Emergency Services Director of Communications, Brent Fisher, and GIS Administrator Brad Parker for helping us get to this point as well. The community champions represent various areas of the county outside of the municipalities. Primarily, they're located in Avonton, near Bailey, near Castelia, and near the Macedonia communities. And they've helped us with several parts of the planning process. And it began with petitions in their communities. You may have seen them in the grocery stores, in the L&Ls or the Jernigans, or they may have visited you at a civic meeting to talk about this issue. We also had a link on our webpage where citizens could report a lack of service. And the local newspapers, we want to thank them for the publicity they've given throughout this process. In December of 2015, Nash Rocky Mount Public Schools sent surveys home with all the K-12 students, and 3,574 were returned to our office. And we compiled those results and created what we called a demand map. And we worked also with communications and GIS and developed what we called an assets map. And these were vertical assets, towers, and water tanks that could be used by wireless organizations to provide high-speed internet. On May 20th, 2015, we hosted a meeting of high-speed internet providers here at Nash County, and they were from all across the state. And we presented this information to them along with tower agreements that we had obtained from the county and from municipalities if they wanted that information. And in 2011, as was stated, our legislators were able to get House Bill 593 approved, which allowed Nash County to enter into a public-private partnership for broadband. And in 2012, the General Assembly expanded that authority to all the counties in North Carolina. So Session Law 2012-86 gives us the authority to enter into a public-private partnership with a qualified private provider of high-speed internet using unrestricted general fund revenue as a grant. And so they require that it be awarded on a technology-neutral basis and open to all qualified applicants. So as the law requires, we did obtain an extensive list of providers from across the state. And in September 2016, we put out a request for proposals. We received one proposal at that time, which the county later rejected in favor of more competition. And in February 2018, Nash County issued a second RFP that resulted in 4 proposals. They varied greatly in terms of technology, cost, coverage areas, etc. So then we interviewed the 4 providers, and we conducted second interviews of 2 of the providers, and we worked with the prospective provider to develop a proof of concept, which is a test area, or in our case, 2 test areas, to demonstrate the feasibility of the wireless technology before the county invests in a large-scale deployment. CloudWise Incorporated submitted a proposal and several proof of concept options. So the Nash County NC Broadband Pilot Program Phase 1 map, which you should have, shows 2 suggested pilot areas, which we recommend because they provide an opportunity to test service in the most challenging areas for last mile deployment in Nash County. And these pilot areas are unserved or underserved with high-speed internet technology. They're located where development is more rural in Nash County and where there are more trees and topography that could interfere with the line-of-sight transmissions using wireless technology. So the idea is we're going to serve the hardest to serve areas first. We'll know that it works and then roll it out further. So the broadband program agreement, which is in your agenda, describes the services, fees, and obligations of both Nash County and CloudWise regarding a broadband pilot program. And just to summarize that, the company will build a network operations center, which they call a NOC. It'll install 1 primary tower and a secondary tower with 100 megabits per second of service. It'll provide broadband to 20 residential subscriber units located in the pilot areas. And residential subscribers will have a minimum of 10 megabits per second download and 1 megabits per second upload. Build out and implementation will begin on the launch date, October 15th of 2018, and be completed by February 1st, 2019. And Nash County will compensate the company $311,000 at intervals set forth in the agreement. And the county has the right to terminate the agreement at any point, and of course pay for what services have been provided at that point. And this agreement has been reviewed by the county attorney, Vince Durham, and there were several changes made by the attorneys back and forth. And what we have for you is the final version, of course. The next steps would be identifying customer participants, a variety of types of users, and defining their responsibilities and developing customer service agreements with those 20 test sites. And this investment would transfer to full deployment, which means this investment would not be in addition to their original proposal, but a part of it. So over the years, I want you to know we have attempted, as you know, to pursue grants that we might be able to use for this high-speed internet technology. We tried in 2010 to partner with the town of Red Oak, which at the time a municipality in North Carolina could own and operate broadband. But we were unsuccessful in getting the U.S. Department of Agriculture Broadband Technology Opportunity Program stimulus grant. And all further attempts, which there were many, for federal funding did not result in any ability that we could pursue grant funding. We've met with national, state, and regional USDA representatives, and even a member of the White House Strong Cities Communities Initiative in 2015. And ultimately, we found that in North Carolina, we do not have the legal authority to be awarded these funds because we don't have the authority to provide, construct, operate, and maintain the utility. So we've approached several nonprofits, none of which had programs which would fund the last mile for us in Nash County. And the 2018 state budget did give us some hope, but ultimately the funding that was provided was for Tier 1 counties. And so Nash County being a Tier 2 county, I regret to inform you there's no other option but for the county to use county funds to roll out high-speed internet through a public-private partnership. There are no grants available to us. So we did advertise the public hearing notice. The purpose of, there are many purposes, but the legal purpose for rolling out the high-speed internet is economic development. And so we advertised according to the economic development statute. And we want to receive comments today. And following the comments at the public hearing, I'd be happy to make a recommendation.
All right, questions of Ms. McGee from the commissioners? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing at this time. Moved by Mr. Outlaw, is there a second? Second by Mr. Bellfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Ladies and gentlemen, we're now in public hearing for the purpose that Ms. McGee has described for us here. The commissioners are considering entering into this contract with Cloudwise to roll out 2 pilot areas in the county for the wireless internet service, and we'd be glad at this time to have anyone that wishes to stand and speak on it. We ask that you give us your name and your address when you do. So we're certainly here today to hear what you might have to say and any comments about it. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak? Yes, sir.
My name is Linwood Ross. I live at 105 13 Ward Road, Whitakus. My first question is, can I have a copy of the map?
You can indeed.
And then secondly, comparatively speaking, what would be the cost impact versus people that use DirecTV and Verizon? And then the third question is the MIPS. Will the MIPS increase or will they remain the same? And what are the location of the towers? I'm looking at the map now.
Mr. McGee, do we have a projection of what we're trying to maintain the cost level to? I know we have that. You have it with you. It is the colored areas at the extreme top and extreme bottom of the map. Is the 2 pilot areas that we are proposing to begin with, Mr. Lawson.
So the residential pricing that was submitted with the proposal, there are 6 levels of residential packages, which we think are comparable with other internet providers. They have the economy version, which is $29 a month, the basic version, which is $46 a month, and the premier version, which is $59 a month. And then you can move up to Turbo, which is $79 a month, Turbo Plus at $99 a month, or Turbo Extreme, which is $129 per month. So obviously, as you move up the spectrum, you get greater service. And I can give you what that proposal was as well. But that was one reason we liked their proposal. We felt like the pricing was something that our citizens could afford.
Mr. Roth, I know that answered 2 of your questions. Was there another one?
Yes, the cost of the county. What is the cost of the county?
The first phase would be $311,000.
So that would be paying for the existing tower, the existing equipment, and the pilot base.
Yes. And you asked about the location of the towers, and that's not something we know yet until we determine where the residential test homes are that we're gonna use. We'll work with Cloudwise to decide where that is. Of course, they know the technology, they'll know where they need to be, but we'll work with them if we can utilize any existing infrastructure or any county property or that kind of thing.
You mentioned the topographic, the hills and the trees. Is that on the map? Is that in the legend on this map?
No, the topography is not on there.
What we found there, Mr. Ross, is it seemed like, in the mountainous area, the system, type system worked better because you had high points you could put
Right.
towers on. In the flat areas, it seemed to work well when you didn't have trees. But we having, some of both, a lot of flat areas and a tremendous amount of trees has been somewhat of the challenge that we've had to get people to be interested in working with Nash County on a wireless system.
So the two areas selected are the optimum areas.
They're the most difficult areas of the county to serve, as
Okay.
determined by the committee.
Okay.
So, and that are underserved or unserved at this time. So the committee felt that if we can serve those areas, we can serve anywhere.
Okay.
And what we are hoping to do, we hope this is very successful in this most challenged area, which would allow us to roll out the rest of the county in a much more expedient fashion. Other questions? Mr. Ross, did that get you what you needed to know right now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. Jeff?
Jeff Turner, 10310 Red Oak Boulevard, Nashville, with Red Oak. Mr. Ross hit on it, but the MIGs, I know she gave the different pricing levels. So what's the speed from the economy to the turbo?
Yep.
Could I tell a commute like Mr. Davis was saying, and I need 50 megs, is that going to be an option? And it's a two-part question. The next one is, when we roll it out after the pilot sites, how long are we thinking that's going to take? 12 months, 24?
Let's take the easy one first, which is what goes along with each one of those stages.
So the economy is 1.5 megabits per second by 0.5, and the turbo is 30 by 10, guaranteed, you know. So the
And-
other ones, you know, they're
What is the best option you have?
that depends on how much you want to
Turbo
pay.
Extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah, Turbo Extreme is what
The
about.
Turbo Extreme, 30 by 10,
That's 30 by 10.
correct.
Jeff, are you saying that doesn't suffice with what you need?
No, I need 50 megs for my software that I use, so, I fight with CenturyLink on a daily basis. I only get 3 now, so 30 is better, and I agree with that. But in the, the 1 gig world, I think we're kind of behind still.
I pay for 10 and I got 7 on a very good day,
Right.
when nobody else is working, I guess. If you work from about 2 in the morning to 5 in the morning, it works better. And your second question was, the speed. Jeff, it is totally tied to what commissioners are willing to spend in a given physical year. Patsy, the total cost of this program throughout the county, if you would remind us of that.
Yes, sir. $2,368,200.
And I could just say that it seems like, it takes more votes for us to do anything, but it seems like the board was, willing, initially to spend in the $2 million range to get this problem resolved. So I think it could happen fairly quickly. You hadn't popped me yet, so I'm okay with what I'm saying, Mr. Moneyman.
Did you say 2 million?
Correct.
Okay. I thought you said 10 million.
No, sir.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
I
two,
would not have made
two.
that statement.
Yeah. Yes, that is a figure that we had settled on early on and had a good possibility to realize that, and then that vendor went to 4 million. So we
That was another opportunity that we had, that when we satisfied ourselves, we would move forward, they immediately doubled the price of it, which was, first of all, put a very bad taste in the commissioner's sense of that company. Therefore, we just kept exploring other ideas. But I think it's certainly obtainable in a very fashion. But Jeff, I know you and the rest of the citizens of Nash County want us to be sure we know what we're doing, which is the reason we're doing pilot programs.
Yeah, we're hoping, once we have a successful pilot program, that we can then roll out the rest of the county.
Actually, I know it's in there. Just tell us if we had elected to go the whole program first, what was that build-out time total? Seemed like to me it was like 18 months.
I believe that's correct, 18 months.
Okay, so maybe another year after we finished the pilot program, we would be able to initiate the whole process. Other questions or from the public or other comments you'd like to make at this time? We're here for a public hearing. We'd sure love to hear from you. Yes, Ken?
How much will the company be putting into this? Or is the county funding the entire first phase?
The county will be funding the capital, and the company will be funding the operational.
And that's what we found typical of all the bids that we had on this process. Mr. Davenport?
My name is Russell Davenport. I live on 732 Evans Road, Nashville, and I didn't plan on saying anything, but I've never had a loss for words, so I wanted to say something.
Since he was in the first grade, I can attest to that.
I have great confidence in Mr. Davis's comment about if we know about something, then we can usually, what was the word, Rami?
I think what I said was the commissioner's always open to be brought a proposal that has the backing to prove us what we need to be doing. And this proposal has already been proven it's what we need to be doing. But go ahead, sir.
I would just like to simply say that you do have citizens in this county that would like to be members of this century. After something's been talked about for a certain amount of time, I will not say anything more except you just wonder. I have great hope. I've heard here that if I understand 1 year beyond the pilot program, if something could happen, maybe it will happen. Did I hear that correctly?
You did hear that, sir.
Yeah. So anyway, we are happy about joining this century for people that do not have it. It seems almost that at some point it becomes an area of discrimination. At some point it has to be looked at by the commissioners on a parcel-to-parcel basis that it does affect property values. And I would like to see a credit on parcel-to-parcel if this does not work out, because it does have an effect on property values. But in that said, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
We thank you for your comments, long time friend. And still friend. Other comments? This is your chance. I do want to thank our two community partners for the work they have done on this, and they have not only helped us with this, they helped us with many other things, and still help us with many other things. We can name numerous things that has transpired as already either complete or in progress due to having these community partners throughout the county. And each time we call on them, they're right there ready to help us. If I don't have any more comments, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
Move to close the public hearing.
Moved by Mr. Bellfield, second by Ms. Wells. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? The public hearing is now closed. I would just open up to the commissioners if you have any more comments or any questions on this item prior to calling for a vote.
Yeah,
Excuse me, Ms. Wells, go ahead.
I think there's one thing that I've been sitting here just thinking, and
and I happen to live in a place where I have all this stuff.
Sure.
But I want all of Nash County to have what I have. And, you know, that's the way I felt all along, that I may represent a certain area, but I represent all of Nash County. And it is affecting livelihoods of some people, because there are banks and all these things, they are giving employees, as you said earlier, they're sending them home, they're working, but they're working from home. And I just think that this is one thing that we can step out and say, you know, it's a lot of money, but it's well spent, that we're doing it for the citizens of Nash County.
Thank you, Ms. Webb. Other comments?
Yes, on the same order that over in Avonton community a couple of years ago, I had a single parent. She had to actually move into town because of her work and a teenager in school and no internet service. And not only that one, but it's a lot of others that's affected. And yeah, anything that's worthwhile is gonna cost us, and we continue to try to improve our county by making it workable and beneficial to our constituents, because as our former commissioner always said, they're the one pay the bill. Thank you.
He did say it many times.
Yes.
Other
Totally.
comments?
Mr. Chairman, I'll just say that it's been a long time coming, and we've been working on it hard since I've been here, and I think this is what we need to do and move forward on it. And I'll guarantee you, if this pilot program works, I'm gonna be pushing to get the rest of it, so I'm ready to make the motion.
All right. I'm gonna see if we got any more comments, I'm gonna let you make the motion, Mr. Cole. Mr. Belfield?
I'm kinda like, Commissioner Wells. I live in Rocky Mount, where we have it. And, I too think that, all the citizens of Nash County should have the same. And, I started back, when it became an issue with our, state conference of county commissioners, state association, not conference. And, we ran into roadblocks with lobbyists, working one way, and we were trying to get it so we could have broadband and high-speed internet all over the entire county. And it's just good that we were able to get our local legislators to get some legislation through, so we, as Nash County, could work on this. And now I'm beginning to see the fruit of this, and I support this.
Thank you, sir. Other comments? Seeing none, Mr. Gomes?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the broadband program agreement that we've been presented.
All right. Have a motion by Commissioner Combs, a second by Commissioner Richardson. Apparently, we have identified the two areas that we are serving.
Cause we're the most underprivileged.
Any questions on the motion? All
I
in-
just want to say,
Sure.
we're not going to let a hurricane stop us from approving this agreement.
All right. Any other comments or questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries.
Thank
Well, on behalf of the board, we certainly appreciate the staff entirety that has worked on this, the citizens that have worked on it. And I hope we can come back, Mr. Davenport, in about 18 months and all be smiling from ear to ear. Thank you for your comments today, as well as the rest of you. Moving on, got to get on the right agenda, because I think my agenda changed a little bit from what I got my notes on. Yeah. Capital project ordinance, Ms. Wood.
Okay, the attached project ordinance is submitted for approval for Nash County High-Speed Internet Project that was just approved. The costs associated in the ordinance are currently based on the broadband pilot program agreement and the initial estimate for administration and legal fees associated with the project. And we've set it up for $315,000 to start this high-speed internet project program.
That's the cheapest the attorney has ever worked, I think. Any questions on this, capital project ordinance Seeing none, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9,
Question on that.
excuse me, Mr. Lamb.
Oh, never mind, we're not borrowing money, never mind, I'm good.
All right, you got me back on track. Actually, item number 8 is the budget amendments. Ms. Wood?
Okay, this, I have a budget amendment for, Commissioner approval. This budget amendment is to activate the accounting mechanism and initial funding needed to properly designate county's expenses for Hurricane Florence emergency operations. Costs needed to, need to be tracked for reimbursement considering a formal disaster declaration was made. An estimate of the actual cost is yet to be determined. We request that the board initially allocate $200,000 to cover the personnel and supplies related to hurricane, primarily related to Category B, which is emergency protective measures.
Okay, any questions on that request? Entertain a motion to approve the budget amendment.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Richardson, second by Mr. Belfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? At this time, we're on, item number 9, board, committee, or special reports. And Mr. Outlaw, I'll turn it over to you to conduct that part of the business. And
Chairman, could we take maybe a 5-minute break before we start?
we can indeed take a 5-minute break.
There's a lot of people that would want to
Yeah.
appreciate that.
There she goes.
If I seem a little bit in a hurry, I do need to get to Rocky Mount for my 4:30 MPO meeting. We've got something on the agenda that I really do not wish to miss. Prior to turning it over to Mr. Outlaw, I'm gonna say 1 or 2 words on behalf of the United Way, campaign this year. We talked about it a little bit, and you're gonna be hearing a lot about it, employees hearing a tremendous lot about it. On behalf of the board, we would like to see us improve our participation level at least considerably from what it's been from our employees in the past. Even if it's a very small amount, it rings a lot to have a larger number of participation. Mr. Lamb is in charge of this year with the United Way or some portion thereof, and I think it would speak very highly of him if indeed we increased it considerably. I'm gonna start the commissioners off by handing Janet my check in front of y'all today, if you would likewise follow suit, with that.
Mine included.
The check is written to the United Way Tar River Campaign or something to that thing, but if y'all would seriously look at your situation, do what you can, and for what employees, department heads we have here, I would just be delighted if we could get that participation level up considerably, and you'll be hearing a lot more about that. Mr. Outlaw, do you mind if I go first, switch? Excuse
While
me.
you're on United Way,
Yes.
real quick, because you might hear from some of our employees, we did purchase the Nash County coffee mugs, and we are giving those to every employee, and we're telling them that this is a gift from the commissioners. So you may be hearing from some employees, and I didn't want that to happen without you knowing what was going on, so.
Well, we approved that the last meeting, I remember.
Yes,
Okay.
but that is happening now. And
Great.
one of the incentives is if the employees give half of a percent of their salary for their donation, we're gonna have a reception hosted by the commissioners
All that indeed.
and have you all recognize them in a commissioners meeting.
That'd be great. I'll let y'all roll out the program. I just want to say the board certainly supports what goes on at United Way, and, as we see again, the last 3 or 4 days, we've been, extremely lucky in Nash County one more time. Mr. Outlaw, with your permission, you mind if I go first? Okay, Tourism Development Authority, we have not had any meetings since our last meeting. Rocky Mount MPO, I did miss the last meeting, that's what I'm gonna leave and go to, now. The Shell Building is going great. If it would just quit raining on it, like all construction projects, it could go a whole lot greater. Go Rock, we did have a very brief meeting last week to take care of a couple of items from a more or less a legal standpoint, and it was just to move it a little bit forward. We understand the property that we worked on so long, Akron Inn, which indeed has closed, is now up for sale. And we were doing a little bit of housekeeping, I guess, to say, so we could have some leverage on what may happen the next time when it's sold, has a new owner, or if it goes into foreclosure or whatever. So it was a very brief meeting. The Gold Rock Inn has indeed closed now. They're doing testing for asbestos prior to getting demolition done. And the county is also getting ready to do the testing in the one that we own, and we'll be moving forward with the demolition, as I said last time, a little bit, another month or two, when all the grading contractors get their projects they've been trying to finish this summer done, and are more interested in demolition work. So we know you'll be seeing 2 of them demolished between now and the end of the year, and certainly we don't know the outcome of the one that was closed by the state very recently. Joint school board meeting, we have our next one. The last one got postponed. The next one will be this Wednesday, that Mr. Bellfield, Mr. Outlaw, and myself and staff will be attending, and we will report on what that happens. And I just want to point out that those community meetings do start, if you could help me with the date for the first one, Miss, the 18th. First one up at Swift Creek. Right, so Swift Creek is tomorrow night, yeah. So is it tomorrow night?
Yeah.
18th, it is tomorrow night, yeah, 18th. But I would encourage the commissioners to attend at least 1, 2, or 3 of those if you could, to get the comments that are made. It would certainly help you with the decision we'll be making moving forward.
Has our agenda for Wednesday been completed?
Stacy, have we heard back from that agenda?
I haven't heard back from them, no.
We did supply it to them. The response we got was it would be sent to the board for any comments. Hopefully, we'll just be meeting Wednesday and work along that agenda.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank y'all. I'm gonna run on the Rocky Mountain.
District 1, Ms.
If
Richardson.
you'll close the meeting, et cetera, Mr.
I
Outlaw.
will, sir.
Thank you.
No closed session.
No.
Are you okay with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And do you, we don't need to do it between now and the first.
We don't.
He says.
Do we,
Yeah, good.
Ms. Richardson?
Oh, thank you. I have no report today. We were supposed to meet tomorrow, but I got a call from the ombudsman's day this morning. Due to the weather, we're canceling, so we'll have one later.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Mr. Bellfield, District 2.
Okay, farmer's market, no report. I do go by there and have large crowds, especially on Saturday, and the parking lot is jammed and they're parking down the side of the street. So, I haven't heard of anything that needs to claim our attention right away. So, I think it's moving smoothly. Juvenile crime prevention, they moved. I mean, we were supposed to meet next week, and the email that I saw that they held that meeting last week, and I wasn't aware of it until I finally looked at the email. So I don't have a report from that, other than we have, I had it here in front of me. What did I do? Anyway, we put together, oh yeah, here we are. Juvenile crime prevention council plan for Nash County. And anybody wants to look at it, I only have one copy. Upper Coastal Plain Council.
Does anybody want to get the clerk to make a copy of that for you?
If anybody want a copy,
I'd like to have a copy of it. Thank you, Mr. Bellfield.
The Upper Coastal Plain Council of Government, we've put together an orientation manual, and and that purpose of this is for new elected officials that join the board. They have this orientation manual, along with getting some orientation as to the functions of the Council of Government. Also, we're working now on the Southeast Regional Development Institute work. That institute will be working with the Council of Government, and this was introduced to us in our last meeting. So, where you have any comment about it? We went through this, the steps that are being involved in it. And we're supposed to further move with this at our next meeting, which is tomorrow night.
They've called off tomorrow's meeting. Got an email,
Get a break.
Thursday,
Well, I
Friday
have,
of last week.
when did you get your email? 'Cause
Last week.
Last week? I read emails and I missed that.
It's
But-
from over.
Okay, all right. I missed that. But the Tar River Transit, we were supposed to meet last week. They changed the meeting to October. It'll be, Tar River Transit meeting will be October the 18th. So no report on that.
Thank you, Mr. Belfield. District 3, Commissioner Combs.
Neither one of these boards have met since earlier.
You're just happy with broadband.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
District 4, Commissioner Barnes.
Nothing really to report from the hospital. We will be hearing from them next month at our work session, I think. Isn't that right? Aren't they?
Yes.
They're scheduled, so I'll just defer to them for that. And I was notified today, actually, that the Trillium Health Resources Board, which was scheduled to meet next Tuesday, has been canceled. That meeting has been canceled, so that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Barnes. District 5, Nash Community was scheduled to meet tonight, but because of the weather, that's been canceled to be rescheduled. I have no report from the TAC, RPO TAC, and broadband. We've talked about that today. I'm taking some action on that, so that would complete everything that I have. District 6, Commissioner Wells.
No reports.
No reports. We don't have anything that we need to discuss in a closed session or anything?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything else that needs to come?
One
before the
thing I
board?
left out,
Belfield?
with the Upper Coastal Plain Council of Government, we did have a meeting with the Institute of Government, UNC. They were they're trying to identify programs that they need to deal with as it relates to government. And we had a meeting at the Ag Center, week before last. And we gave them, they had county commissioners and municipal elected officials that, not everyone, but they just picked out some, and I happened to be one of those that attended that meeting. And we gave them a lot of information as we saw the issues and things that relates to government that we think that they need, the Institute of Government could work on in assisting government officials. And hopefully when they're going to all the regions in the state, and then after that, they're gonna compile it.
Good. Anybody have anything else?
Commissioner Outlaw, the Pumpkin Festival Parade is Saturday, October the 6th. Is anyone going to be able to ride in the parade?
Well,
At the Pumpkin Festival Parade on the 6th, October 6th?
not plan to.
Is there gonna be like a closed vehicle for all of us to ride together that want to ride, or?
It never has been before, but I mean, if,
Well, we actually have done that.
Yeah,
We have had a
yeah.
Suburban.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah, but
probably
it wasn't clear, I'm gonna tell you.
ride in
where-
yours.
Huh?
What about your vehicle? You got a
Tahoe.
I think Vester actually provided a vehicle a few years back, and we all rode together.
Mm-hmm.
I can check on,
But my letters said, as a politician, if you
No,
want to be in the parade, it's $100 fee.
She told me
And
to
to
want
campaign,
That's
well,
if you're
if you
running.
as an elected official, it's no charge
That's right.
Well, why
for
don't we,
you just being.
why don't we let Mr. Cone or Ms. Barnes,
Yeah.
between the two of them, they work out
Verify.
the details? And if they want to do it on an enclosed vehicle or something like that, those that want to ride, just let us know and tell us what time to be there, and we can do that.
Yeah.
If
That's
you
what
wanna
we
do that.
normally do.
how many people do you think we're gonna have?
I would,
I'd be
think-
glad.
I would be glad to,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. 6.
If you can work it
I mean,
out.
Robbie will
So
probably.
if everybody rides, that's 7, so you can sit in the back of the truck or.
No, you need
three
to
seats.
bar.
Z,
Huh?
take
You got
Z,
three
Z's
seven?
got
I
the
got 3
truck.
seats in my Tahoe.
And then,
And Z's got the truck, all we got to do is sit in the back.
yeah, but it's raining, what you gonna do?
Get wet.
We might can get 2 vehicles, but we'll see.
All right, y'all just coordinate something and let us know.
Yeah.
And, you know, if Z or some of the other staff want to ride, that'd be great.
If we have more than 4 or 5, we'll just get 2 cars.
See, last year, I mean, I think me and Lou got some of us got invitation, but nobody rode but me, so I just got a car.
Yeah.
I had
That
a friend of mine riding me in an
probably-
old car.
Yeah, I didn't go,
Have you got an
I didn't go last year
invitation?
because I had a
Have you
conflict.
got an
October
invitation?
6th.
Sheila sent me an email today and wanted to know if I would.
Bring
I
some
haven't
candy.
got one.
Huh?
Bring
I
candy.
don't know about that. If you're gonna all ride in a vehicle, I don't know where you throw candy or not.
Well, y'all work out the
I did not
details
last
and
year.
Let us know, and we can, if we want candy, we can get candy. And if we can all ride together, or need to be 2 vehicles, then we can do that too. Okay. All right, anything else?
We do not need a close, I've already said that, okay.
And we are adjourning to October 1. Any other business come before the board? All right, we need a
Mr.
motion.
Vice President, Vice Chairman, I offer motion to adjourn and
To October 1st at 9
October
a.m.
1st at 9 a.m.
Second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yeah.
Any opposed, no. Motion passes. Have a good evening.
Thank you.